Welcome to SAP Project System for the general users of the company. In this session, the purpose in this course is to provide the users with an overview of the SAP Project System and to understand how to request a project code, assign a budget, activate that code, and pull some reports for those expenses in the project. The target audience is the general production and project users for the company. So what is changing? For tracking different financial transactions right now, everyone is using, or for the most part, everyone is using JDE, and you're using a business unit to manage your reporting of expenses and revenues. And that's usually your business unit specific to a project, a show, a marketing campaign, or an event, or it could be an HQ for a group of departmental people. Some of you, though, might be using SkyJDE, and you might be using a different code and subledgers. So right now, we are using business units, or again, if you're SkyJDE, you're using your SkyJDE code and subledgers. Now, in the BUs users, you are also using an object sub or a minor code with your business unit to track more of the details of your business unit. So you would use a particular minor code for an office supplies or car service or a cab in order for you to see all the expenses within that business unit. When we migrate to SAP, you will no longer be using your business units or object subs, or for SkyJDE users, your codes and your subledgers. Instead, those will be translated to the new SAP structure and terminology of codes, and it will be replaced, and we're going to look at these SAP elements within this session. Now, although the structure and the codes are going to be different from what you're used to in business units or minor codes, it will be the same way you're going to be using your business units and object sub right now. So what is the project code? So you're using business units right now, and then that's going to translate into different SAP codes. What we're going to look at today is business units that are translated in cost centers and business units that are translated into projects. So what are business units that are translated to cost centers? Cost centers will be the more of an HQ departmental codes that are related to a group of people. Projects are business units that are related to something that has a start and end date, a more detailed kind of code, like your programming, for instance, or marketing campaign. So today, we're going to touch a little bit in the cost centers, but we are going to be really looking a lot more on the project codes. Some examples of projects are production, for instance, for acquired programming or original. Then you'll have some marketing campaigns that you want to track more in a detail project level, such as Pepsi sponsorship for an EMA event, or the Kia car company doing an integration commercial within, let's say, a programming such as a Geordie Shore. Also, another sample would be special events such as the Kids' Choice Awards. A couple of other departments that would be using a project codes to track their expenses in more detail are the IT for their laptop purchases, for instance, and then the planning and design for, let's say, their office furniture and fixtures. So why do you need this session? If you are someone that's going to be creating purchase orders or creating TMEs or journal entries, you're going to need a code. You're going to need a project code or a cost center to be able to do that transaction. Again, while the cost centers are important for tracking group-related budgets, HQs, departmental types of expenses, that will give us the detail that a project code will give us. And so we're going to look at more of the difference on those codes, and we're going to concentrate a lot more on the project codes later on in this session because there's a lot more elements to it. So the objectives for this session is to look at your old business unit and see how that translates to the new project codes, understanding the basics of SAP project system and the types of projects that we will be able to request and use, understanding the WBS structure of projects that replaces the business unit project code format, understand what information to provide to your finance or controllers groups so that you can request a project code to be set up. Then the next two bullet points, the control budget, assigning and releasing and activating a project code, those are all rolled up together to actually get your project codes activated for use. Then the last part of the session is optional for some people because this is more of the planning budget that's usually used more of by the production or special events or any project departments, operations group that really gets into more detail, line by line, in terms of tracking and reporting their business units right now. We're also going to see various types of project reporting that will be used by the general population and also for more of the people that are using the plan budget. In the table of contents, it will show you the buckets of our sessions of what we're going to touch on. So the first part, again, is introduction to the SAP project systems, just looking at your old business unit and how it's going to be translated to the new codes. Then you're going to do the project request. So we're going to look at what information you need in order to get a project code. After that, we're going to look at to see, and once you get that project code, how you're going to activate it. And there's 4 steps to it. After that, we're going to look at 3 project reports that is geared to the general population. And then the next 2, the project detail planning budget and the production project reporting, is a more cost reporting, variance analysis for those people that are in special events or programming or the project operations group that really needs a more line by line, above the line, below the line kind of reporting and variance analysis. The last part is some helpful guides that will show you a summary of the information in this session that will be useful when we roll out the SAP. So, going to the first part, an introduction to the SAP project system, we'll go to slide 10 and look at your old business unit format. Currently, you have a format of the first 2 letters is your region, the next 2 letters is your channel, then what type of project code it is, then a 3-digit code that is system generated. After that, there is your object sub-minor code. The first 5 digits is your type of expense, this is labor, and the last 4 digits is the category, which is principal talent. So this sample is a UK MTV Geordie Shore business unit, and we are coding it to a labor expense principal talent. Now for Sky JDE users, in terms of your codes, your business units, well, your codes are not business units. You have a particular Sky JDE code, and it comes with subledger, which is your minor code. Don't worry, your finance team knows that you have a particular different format. They will be working on doing the translation of your codes into the new SAP code. Slide 11. So, when we roll out SAP, there will be a tool that will be able to let you look at your business unit and your object sub and translate it to the new SAP codes. Again, for the SkyJDE users, that's going to be done by your finance team, and they will give you that data of the translation to the new SAP codes. For the people using the business units and the object sub, I'm going to demo this tool. And the first thing you're going to do is go to your Internet Explorer. And then you're going to go to your address up top. You're going to type in powerup.viacom.com. And again, that will be let me just show you L. That is going to be powerup.viacom.com. And going back to my internet. And then press enter. And you should get this window, and it says Power Up. The site of Power Up is a good site for new SAP users. It has a lot of information in terms of training and new procedures for the system. It has here the market, which is where you're going to do your purchase order, and it has all the information that will help you and guide you through the system. There's also at the bottom part, there's the training section, and if you go there, there's going to be a lot of tools from the training materials that's used to go around the regions for the SAP system. And also we have the policies for this new system right over in this section. What we're going to look at right now is this SAP Business Unit Lookup tool. So you're going to click there. And the Viacom E1 SAP Lookup tool should pop up. For this exercise, the first thing we're going to look at is a business unit HQ or departmental business unit. And right now I'm going to use a domestic business unit because they are still in the process of finalizing all the conversions for Europe. So I'm going to look at a business unit that is an HQ for integrated marketing. This is domestic. The only difference in the domestic business unit is that we don't have the first two letters in terms of the region. You put that in your box, hit search, and your new code will pop up. Since this is an HQ, a departmental business unit, you're going to get a cost center. You'll see that it will show you where the system source this business unit comes from. This is E1 that was used in domestic, your old business unit and the description. Then it's going to show you the company code. The company code is 4 digits. Right now, you're going to be using the same company code you have, except you're going to add a digit in front of it. And depending on your region, you're going to add the following digits. If you are in Europe, Africa, and Middle East, you will add a 3 to your existing company code in the beginning. If you're Australia or Asia, you will add a 4 in the beginning of your company code that's existing. Domestic 1, and LATAM adds 2. The cost center is an 8-digit code, as you can see here. The first 4 digits always going to be your company code, and then the last 4 is generated. Now let's look at the object sub lookup tool. I'm going to just use the example we did when we looked at the old business unit format. So that's 16011.2710. Hit search, and you should get the same pretty much format of pull as the business unit. It'll show you the source of where the object sub came from, the object sub code that you put in, the description, and then it will be translated in either, well, both a GL account, a general ledger account, and a WBS level 4. These are now the new minor codes, and it depends on if you have a cost center or a project code, which one you're going to use. If you have a business unit that was translated to a cost center, you'll be using a GL account. If you have a business unit that was translated to a project code, you're going to be using, for your minor code, the WBS level 4. And we'll look at the format project in detail later. So again, cost center goes with GL account, and project code goes with WBS level 4. Let's look at a business unit that is translated to a project code. So this sample, again, it shows you the source, the business unit, description, company code, and since this is a BU that is actually a project, you'll see at the right that it's translated to this project code. The 2-letter in the beginning, then a 7 digits, then a 2 digits. You will attach this project code when you're coding to a minor code, which is the WBS level 4. So you think about it as cost center goes with GL this way, project code with WBS this way. To recap, cost centers are HQ departmental transactions. For a group of people, again, HQ transactions. Project codes are for more of a detail, reporting, tracking type of code. Marketing campaign, events, programming, IS&T. The format, again, for cost centers is going to be the first 4 digits is going to be your company code. Next 4 digit is system generated, and then you will attach a GL, general ledger account, for your minor code. Your project code will be 2 letters, then the 7 digits, then 2 digits, and then 4 digits WBS, level 4. And we're going to go into detail more of the project code format. But just to reiterate the difference between cost center and project codes, let's just look at, again, what would be deemed as a cost center versus a project. Let's look at the marketing department, for instance. If you're in the marketing department and you're only dealing with expenses that are about meeting catering expenses for your department, an advertiser, client meal expense, gratuity gift to a client, those will go to a cost center. But if you're a marketing department person that deals with expenses related to a specific advertising campaign, for instance, the Procter & Gamble integration into a particular event, you need to know the project code. Production department, for instance, if you only deal with department meal, general department office supplies, or meal with a development executive from a third-party production company, expenses, those are cost centers. If you're dealing with acquired programming, a specific acquired programming license contract, or an original programming edit meal fees, for instance, then you need to know about project code. I'm going to jump to the research department down here. Let's say that you deal with the Nielsen ratings expenses for the contract of the Nielsen. That's usually just going to be in a cost center. But if you're dealing, for instance, with a more detailed, really big millennial custom study or a focus group for a developed program, that would be a project code, and you would need to know that in this session. So for anyone that's just dealing with cost center right now, all you need to remember is this format. First 4 digits is your company code, next 4 digits is system generated, and then your minor code for that cost center is going to be a GL account. And if you're only dealing with cost centers right now, that's what you need to know, and you may leave the session. As long as also you don't deal with project codes and reporting, you may leave the session. Now, for those that are going to deal with project codes, let's go to the next slide. By the way, going back to slide 11, there is this Word document in the deck that will show you a cheat sheet basically on how to look up a group departmental HQ business unit and how it will translate in new code at the cost center, and it also will show you how to look up a project business unit and how it will translate to a project code, as well as your object sub lookup. So slide 12, let's dig in more into the format of a project code. Your new project code format will consist of 4 levels. In the first level, you'll have a 2-letter project type, and then it will be followed by a 7-digit sys-generated code. Note the first digit of that code will indicate what language your chart of accounts, your minor codes, aka your WBS level 4 will be. So your meals, your edits, will be in whatever language that particular digit will be. Let's go to slide 14 just to let you guys know what the different language of each template. So if that particular 7 digits starts with a 1, your template's going to be, or your codes are going to be in English. 2 and 3 were created for Latin America, so 2 is Spanish and 3 is Portuguese. 4, 5, and 6 were created for Europe. 4 is going to be Spanish, 5 is Portuguese, and 6 is Polish. Going back to slide 12, the first 2 letters, which is the project type, will also trigger what kind of codes that's going to be attached to your project. Each project will have a different set of WBS Level 4, aka minor codes, because each department is different, and we're going to look at that later. There's a lot of different project types to choose from in the SAP system. LO is original programming, and if I look at slide 13, there is a sample of other project types that you can pick. RS for research, DG for digital production, PB for publicity, which is usually what press departments use. This particular Excel that's attached here, there is a list of a more detail of the different type of projects that can be picked. Opening that up, as you can see, we have, let me just show you, for instance, MK for marketing. Not only will you have the type of project, but also in your request you have to be detailed, because your finance and controllers group will also have to pick the type of content, because marketing can be consumer marketing, integrated marketing, marketing with advertising and contests. So you have to be specific when you're giving your request, which we're going to go through that specific parameters that you need to give your finance and controllers group. Going back to slide 12, level 2. This is a new thing in the coding. This is level you can track your expenses episodically if you're in programming. This is also used for other departments such as IS&T and planning and design, where they want to track each asset in the same project codes but in different levels. So one can be the laptop, 2 can be the wires, and then for planning and design it could be, 1 could be the swivel chairs, and 2 can be all the tables, and 3 can be the labor to renovate a floor. Also for programming, special events, let's say, they would use it for one level would be for pre-show, the next is main show, and then the post-show. Marketing, for instance, can use this level for instance for consumer marketing. One level tracks all the marketing expenses, and the other is the advertising expenses. So this is used by departments in different ways, and it's available to everyone. For the most part, everyone is just going to have one level. They don't use this level 2 a lot, and so when your project code is created, you're going to have a 0-1. It's never going to be 0-0. Going to the next 4 digits, to level 3 and 4, the first 2 digits in this WBS level 4 coding is going to be the main category of your code. Technically, it's now going to be your minor code. Then the last 2 digits is going to be the detail of that main category. So this one is the talent, 14 is talent, and 01 is principal cast main voice labor. You have to code all your project expenses up to level 4. This format has to be your coding structure when you're coding expenses, when you're coding purchase orders, doing journal entries. It's important you code this way. Slide 15. So when you get or request your project codes, basically, that particular request of that project code goes to master data governance after you give it to your finance or controllers group. Master data governance is the one that physically creates this project code, and then once it is created, it goes back to your finance or controllers group, and then it's communicated back to the operations group. Whoever gets it back, you can check to see what codes are attached to your project code by using what we call the transaction code in the SAP system. So, going to introduce everyone now to the SAP system so you can see what we can pull report-wise, displays, information, and even activating your project codes. You will need a transaction code when you're in SAP to do these functions. When you when we roll out and you go into your desktop, everyone should have an icon that says SAP. You will double click on that icon, and then it will pop up a menu of the different environments that you can go to in terms of accessing this particular system. Now, once we go in production, everyone's going to go on connections production, ERP production. But right now, we're going to actually just use the training environment when I start to demo this. But one thing I need for everyone to look at is once you pick this environment of production, the login is going to pop up, and you're going to put your user ID and a password. Your user ID will be your VIN number, aka your employee number, and the way for you to find out if you don't know your employee number is go back to your Internet Explorer. At the address bar, you will put what's myvin.viacom.com and press enter. Again, that is what's myvin.viacom.com. And depending on whose computer you're on, the employee number in that particular network you're logged in is going to show the number. So this, I'm logged in to my dear friend Habiba's computer, so it's her employee number that's showing up. So you will take the VIN number or your employee number, and that will be put into your user ID, and then you're going to put your password. Everyone's password in the beginning will be this welcome one. It is case sensitive. Also note in the password is all this asterisk, all this stars. It's never going to go away. It's a security feature in SAP login, so you have to be careful and put in your password because you can't see it. 3 times that's wrong, it's gonna log you out completely of the SAP, and you come back in, and if you get it the 4th time incorrectly, it will actually lock you out, and you have to contact SAP Security Global in order to unlock your user ID. So once you put the new password for everyone into SAP, it's the first log on, it will pop up this window down here to ask you for a new password, and you need to change it. And you will need to make sure that it's at least 8 characters long. One of the letters has to be capitalized, and it has to have one number at least in your password. So, with that in mind, I am now going to demo logging into SAP. So I've already clicked on my SAP icon. The SAP menu of the different environment has popped up. Since we're not in production yet and I'm just going to be using the test or training environment, I'm going to go to QA, ERP, and here is my pop-up of a login. I'm going to put my employee ID or VIN number. For most of you, your VIN number will start with an EU, and then you just put your number after that, so EU and then the number that's given to you. And then, excuse me, I'm going to put in my password carefully. Again, as you can see, this stars, this X is not going away. Press enter. And now the main menu will pop up with a water feature. And this is your main menu when you bring up SAP. And you'll hear me say, go to the main menu, go back to the water. This is what I'm talking about. The main thing that we're going to be using in this SAP is this command box. You may not find it sometimes because it's collapsed. It may look like this when you first log in. You can just expand it again with clicking of that particular arrow that I am pointing at. This command box is important because this is where you're going to put the transaction codes. Again, the transaction code, also known as T codes, are the codes you're going to be using to pull up reports, display, activating your project codes, all sorts of transactions that can be done within SAP, and depending on your security role, because each job, each of your roles may have different access. So, going back to our slide, the first transaction code that we're going to be using is CN43N to look at a particular project codes to see what WBS level 4, aka the minor codes that are available in that project type. So going back to SAP, in my command box, CN43N, enter, and usually there are certain windows or information that will pop up to ask you to set a particular information or parameters in it. For this one, just enter profile, database profile. It usually comes up in certain T codes. We'll just go to what we call a match box, this little white box next to the entry cell. Click on that. A menu will pop up. You will pick the very first one with the long strings of 0 and then a 1, which is a standard selection structure, and hit the continue button. Now, we've also tried the other profile within that selection, and it's all the same. So they've just recommended to use the first one. So now the project info system WBS elements initial screen pops up. We're going to use a project code and look at the level 1 of that project code to see what level 4s, the chart of accounts, and 2 and 3s we have available. Now, one thing to note, the excuse me, the win we're going to see a lot. As long as you know your project code level 1, you'll be able to pull up information, reports, activate the project codes, just by knowing your level 1 project code. So let's look at an RS, a research project code. Okay, again, 2 letters and then 7 digits. Now, I put in my project, and by the way, your project codes can be noted as project, project definition, WBS elements, whatever the first row is, and it says any of those terms, you will put your level 1 code, project codes on there. So this one says projects, I put my level 1 research code, and then press enter, and nothing happens. Note, when you have this icon that is a clock with a check mark, and when I kind of go over it, it says execute, you need to hit that button, or F8. I'm going to hit that particular icon, and now it shows me all of the codings available to that particular project code. It will also show me each of the levels of coding. So we have level 1 here, 2, 3, and 3, note, remember, 3 is the first 2 digits, so all of the digits, the last 2 digits of all your level 3 is going to be always 0, 0, because it's just a main category. So this main category is executive producer, and then level 4, and we see level 3 here again. Now you have to make sure that you are always coding to the level 4s, because remember, level 3s are just category roll-up. Now, you may have, for instance, a MO, on-air promos, project codes that has multiple level 4s. And you want to check and see if one of your codes is there. This binocular icon is a find function. You click on that. You put the particular word that you're looking for. Let's just look for anything that says research. Then you'll hit display number of hits so you know how many codes that actually has that word. Make sure you put the asterisk, these stars, before and after the words you're searching so that it will look for everything. And then hit OK. So, over here, it'll show me that I have 3 hits that says research. So, it's going to take me there. Every time you hit the check, it's going to take you to each of those codes. Okay? Now, let's look at another project to see how much of level 4 codes they have. To go back or exit your window, you can use this traffic light button. Green is to go back. Yellow should exit you back to the main menu, and usually the red will just cancel you out of the SAP login. So let's look at an IS project code. This is for ISNT. And for instance, for ISNT, they don't have a lot of codes in their departments because they only track certain things. As opposed to research was a little bit longer. And if we pulled up a marketing, it's going to be also different. So just remember, depending on the project code, type that has been selected, the first two letters, the system will know what template to actually attach to that particular project code. So that is CN43N if you want to look at the different types of coding that is attached to your project code. Slide 16 shows a sample, again, of the screen that we pulled up for CN43N.